Welcome back. Last week we did a very good job of checking out the shaman village, exploring the area, and traveling our way here, back to Contigo. If you remember Contigo, where we visited them earlier, just to make sure that we had everything that we wanted out of this section, I am now collecting all the necessary artifact items from the miscellaneous store, from the item store. We're going to need to make sure that we're stocked up correctly for when we go to Jupiter Lighthouse. It does feature a pretty difficult boss fight against two other synergy users, two other adepts. In this case it is... I've completely forgotten their names. Minardi's sister and the dude that she runs around with. They are both fire adepts from Prost. Prost is the northern Mars continent. That's where the Mars Lighthouse is. It's actually a huge snow-swept place, which is interesting, considering they're all fire users. The implication being that they're closer to Scandinavian or Russian than anything else. At any rate, just being one of them doesn't make you a fire user, since all the fire users we have are from our hometown. It's Jenna and Garrett. In this case, we're going to need Sheba's power more than anyone else's, what with it being a Jupiter lighthouse and all. But that shouldn't be too much of a problem. It's important to make sure that you check up on everything here in Contigo. This guy's talking about the wings there. Contigo does have a lot of people in it, and some of them do actually have pretty interesting stories. This here is a piece of corn the guy just left lying around. Don't ask why. He's a bit of a weirdo. These here are the gambling sections. If you do need money, if you haven't been grinding that much, this is a nice place to get it. Although it's not always preferable. Gambling is as gambling does. The odds of you losing money are high. This little baby knows synergy. It just used whirlwind. Don't ask me where it learned it. The implication is that she brought it down from Jupiter Lighthouse just by being in the vicinity. It's always important to check the necessary artifacts, but by this point we've got pretty much the strongest equipment we can have. So anything that they sell here isn't going to be better than anything that we have. I do need to make a run over to Yampi at some point though. Sunny needs to clean up these rusty weapons for me. There is a chance the rusty weapons will be better than what we have. Because I'm not familiar with all the rusty weapons, it's best to make sure what is available and what isn't available, and what you can and can't use. Some of the swords might be a light sword, and that you can give to Jenna. Some of them might be great swords that you can split between either Piers or your main character. Armor is another story. If you got good rolls on the fountain, then you will have enough sets of decent armor, including the Arrhenius tunic from another section. And those should be sufficient to help you out, in most cases. Now normally, if your loaded code that you used for this game didn't have all the gen, you could use a synergy you learn later on to hit one of these tree trunks, and that would actually have a gen in it, a Mars gen. There's synergy you learn in the first game called Force, and when you're done with Jupiter Lighthouse, the team from the first game joins you. This here is your boat and its wings. I'm skipping over the bit where you find out what you're supposed to do at that wall. Ah, cool. This is the Iris area. If you use teleport, you'll end up here, and you need to have found all the gen. It lights up those panels on the ground, and then it opens up a secret area for you to go find the strongest summon in the game. She costs a lot of different gen combinations, but she revives everyone in your party who've died and deals a bunch of damage. It's actually really useful to have against the endgame bosses, and I don't mean the final boss at the top of the lighthouse, I mean the alternative bosses that also give you the strongest summons in the game. We'll get to them, but only once we've reached the top of Mars Lighthouse. I'm still deciding whether or not we'll run to the top just before the final boss, then bail, or if I'll wait until we have all the necessary synergy before bailing. So as before, set hover and cyclone to your L and R keys. You want to map those so that you have quick access to them. You'll be using them a lot in this dungeon. So this is Jupiter Lighthouse. This is one of the most difficult dungeons in the game. One of the longest for sure. It took me upwards of an hour just to get through this, knowing what to do in the whole dungeon. A lot of backtracking. And most of the backtracking was just because I got confused about where I was and where I was going. So if you know where that is, or how that looks, and what to do, you should be fine. Shouldn't have too many issues. Okay. So first things first, we're going downstairs. Yes. This is where Cyclone comes into play. You'll find these little pads here, like this. The pads will take you either down or up, depending on their shape. If they're upside down, they take you up. If they're right side up, they take you down. There are reasonably tough bosses in here, or mobs in this area. So keep an eye on your synergy use. Try not to waste synergy on buffs, and try not to use too much wind synergy on some of them. They do have a resistance to it. These are earth and fire type enemies, so they're resistant to earth and fire synergy. Although I did a lot of damage to that one, it was resistant to the earth damage. It's just something to be wary of. So I showed you the hover section when we were in Shaman Village earlier. You'll be doing this a lot in this area as well. It just gives you a little bit of air time with a time limit on how long you can stay in the air. The time limit comes into play with some of the puzzles in the later sections of the dungeon, but for the beginning of the dungeon it's a lot of pushing pillars around. If I'm not speeding up a lot, don't worry about it. I am pretty inconsistent with that. So at the start of the dungeon, I'm not really sure where to go, so I'm going to just be sort of wailing through. Whatever gets in my way, and I figure it out from there. Yeah, the game uses one of its very classic pillar puzzles. If you don't push that one up, you've got a little bit more pushing to do, because you need to have pushed that one up so you can get around this area here to push this one out of the way. Then you can push this one out of the way, and instead of immediately going downstairs, you push this one straight forward, and it forms a little pathway for you to jump over so you can collect this chest. This is the Arrhenius tunic I was referring to earlier. It is a decent defense stat and an evasion stat. I like to give this to the main character. It gives me feelings of old RPGs I played where I like to boost my evasion a lot so that enemies couldn't hit me. Most enemies don't have a high accuracy stat, so having a high evasion means you'll just dodge every attack they use that isn't magical. Unlike in D&D, you can't dodge magical attacks. So these hanging chains are supposed to be reminiscent of the hanging vines from earlier in the game, so that you can use whirlwind on them, so you can swing across them. Not really a puzzle in the sense that puzzles are puzzles, in the context of the story I mean. But in the context of the gameplay, you're using a wind synergy in the wind dungeon more often than you're using other synergy. I like to use move a lot. Move is technically an earth synergy, but it's more of just a base synergy. As usual, I'll be speeding through a lot of the battles. I will slow down around the boss fight just so you can get an idea of what that looks like. And although see that there? That is a red door. It's one of the more boring puzzle types in adventure games. Find the key to put it in the corresponding door. It's not that interesting. But the game handles it reasonably well. There's a lot of puzzles to get to the specific keys, like this one here, for example. In the context of the story, I don't exactly know why a ancient civilization would build a tower that needed you to jump meters at a time just to get anywhere, and then fall, and then climb up a ladder. Now, the pillars I'm pushing here don't actually need to be pushed if you want to move on with the story. This is just to get treasure. In the story, I just need to climb up a ladder at the end. That ladder. Once you have all the pillars in place, make sure there's no more than one jump distance between each of them. You come around here and hop about. It's a little tedious, but it happens. This is actually a fun one. It's based on, I believe, a Japanese style spiritual staff. But it's very reminiscent of one of Yuna's staffs, Nirvana, from Final Fantasy X. If you can look that one up, you can actually see they have a very similar design, and I believe they're both based on the same staff. It's still a nice nod to Final Fantasy, or at least I'm reading it that way, and I bet you'll get a kick out of it too. Yes, use a wide area of attack. When there's more than 2 enemies, you can't split your attacks evenly. That's when you use a 3 or more range attack. If there are 4 enemies, each of your characters does have a 5-hit synergy at this point, so you shouldn't have to worry. For safety's sake, I'm not falling down that hole yet. It's kind of important to make sure that when you do things like this, you've already explored everything else in the area you can reach, or can get back from. Don't drop down unnecessary holes. You can hurt your progress quite easily that way. So this is just a way to get back to the entrance of the dungeon. It comes in handy when you're backtracking a lot, or when you need to go in and out a lot. A lot of dungeons are set up so that you can escape and come back quickly if you're dying and don't have any revive abilities. Don't worry about pushing that yet. You can come back and push it when the pillars and everything have been activated. So you need to get down there, but you can't get down there from here. So the game is going to make you go all the way around, and this is the kicker. It's going to make you go all the way to the top of the lighthouse. Just to show you that there is no way to light the lighthouse now, you have to set it up first. None of the other lighthouses really need this, except I believe Mars Lighthouse has a similar function. The Venus Lighthouse you could light as soon as you got to the top, and the Mercury Lighthouse as well. You just needed to get there. For this one, someone decided it was necessary to seal the lighthouse, which is strange. As you can see, the mysterious voice of the lighthouse asks you to use hover in order to light it up. This activates all the hover platforms in the area, and these little white platforms pop up so that you can ride them in the air. They're about the same height as most standard pillars, and they make traversing the rest of the dungeon a lot easier. There'll be some pushing around and some reactivating and some connecting, and the way the lines work operates very similarly to the puzzle in the Gibombo statue earlier. if there's a break in the line, the power doesn't get to the platforms and the platforms don't rise up. And you also can't use the platforms to raise yourself up. You can only use hover on the circles in particular, not on the lines leading to the circles, but anywhere where there is a circle is a spot where you can use hover to rise above. It'll raise you up just above each of these platforms instead of being in line with the platforms, which would be funny. And we're off to the races. So there's no point going back up again, but it is necessary now to push this one into position so you can hop over it. And if you remember the complaint I had about red keys and blue keys and all that nonsense earlier, this is where you collect the red key. Then you hop down. So next step I'm going to use, we're going to try to get to that red door, travel through it, and continue with the rest of the dungeon. Our plan is now to open up the top of the lighthouse, so we need to activate the Guardian failsafe that is preventing us from doing so. Now silly me forgot that I had Cyclone mapped to the R key and not Reveal, so I tried using Cyclone instead of Reveal. There's the blue door in the bottom right there, you can see it. You'll find the blue key after a particularly messy puzzle later on, which involves both avoiding pitfalls and then strategically falling through specific pitfalls. Which actually is a clever subversion, which I don't realize immediately. But we'll get to that. So as you can see, there's an upside down cyclone, or right side up cyclone, there next to the red door. So I need to head sufficiently below it to find the corresponding upside down cyclone that I need to ride up. Since it's not anywhere here, that means it's inside. This is one we found earlier, so we're going to use it. It's most likely the correct one. At least that's what I thought. Thankfully I wasn't wrong. At the beginning of these dungeons, they tend to be straightforward. So there's not too much runaround for you to worry about. Immediately hide behind these posts here as soon as you can. This is one of those goddess statues I mentioned. She spits out a little whirlwind, knocks you on your butt, sends you all the way back to the beginning. Lots of running. It's very simple. As soon as the whirlwind's out of the way, you run in again. Activate the whirlwind, then outrun it. She has a time limit. The whirlwind needs to hit the wall before she can spit another whirlwind. That timing gets you every single time. This is a mimic. Now mimics tend to give you decent items when you kill them. If you're lucky, it's a Water of Life or a Psi Crystal. Oh, he put two of my people to sleep, and that's what I was trying to do to him. Yeah, just to make ourselves stronger so we don't die. See, he gave me a Psi Crystal. Psi Crystals are useful for in battle or just before a new battle to boost all your synergy back up to maximum so you don't hurt yourself. Here's another one of those pillar puzzles. All you have to do is find the closest one that you can push and push that. Now this puzzle messed me up. Now the problem with what I just did is now I'm going to fall through that hole if I go back there. So I'm going to load. Okay, so I started all over again. I've just performed a cut. See, now I'm going to do this. Okay, ignore that I just used sand. Now I haven't realized what to do yet. So now I want to go back. Goals not worth it. Performing a cut here. So yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. I don't really know what to do. So I do the move again, thinking, yeah, this is how I'm going to do it. That's when I realize I can't go back because I've already activated that stone. So I need a way to reset the stone. Or else I can't go back. But I can't go back without dropping through the stone. So I need to reset the stone. But there's a door right here, you see. I'm still thinking on it. I haven't figured it out yet. Then I realize if I go through the back door and back inside, I've reset the stone. Which means I can move this. And I can hop over without falling. Then I can collect the treasure. Mist potion, useful. Then I fall. I need you to do a quick pillar pusher. Really unnecessary bit of pushing there. Not sure why they added it, but it's the nature of the game. Maybe that is why they added it. To make it make sense. So you'll see that we're just running up and up and up. We fall through that hole there. We do that, we get to where we need to be. Now this puzzle was a bit of a mess to me. Especially the first time I did it, back in the day. I could never really figure it out, so I always winged it. If I couldn't get it right by winging it, then I just have to retry. It's important to think on it a little bit, but don't think too hard. The answer is normally quite straightforward. There are a lot of little pitfalls like that. They're not actually going to help you, they're all going to hinder you. There's a specific puddle you have to fall through in order to get to that little hole in the middle we passed by earlier. Up, we activate the archer. Archer lights up one half of the two statues. And it lifts up the cork. You have to do this twice. Yeah. There's another one on the other side that you're also going to have to light up, and the puzzle there is a little bit worse than this one. A little bit much worse. But you do get a good piece of equipment out of it. So for some reason, that pillar doesn't stay in place, even though it's meant to, based by the shape of the platform you're pushing it onto. So, to get down into that middle, you have to make use of this. You hover. Now you hope for the best. Excellent. Luckily they made it obvious. Now you fall there. And then you can collect the blue key. With the blue key you can access the right tower, and with the right tower you can open up the Jupiter Lighthouse properly. Then we can go light it. The Jupiter Lighthouse can get lit. Riding a whirlwind is not the fastest way to do this. You can safely run as fast as that whirlwind. Yes. Your running speed, your base running speed, is exactly as fast as this whirlwind is. So I've noticed that a lot of players don't actually like random encounters as much as I do, but I prefer them. It's mostly nostalgic value from when I played Pokemon or when I played Final Fantasy X. Most of the games, RPGs I played had random encounters, and I enjoyed it. It made sense to me. Some of them had a different system. Oop, hold on. Sorry about that. Had a bit of noise pollution in the background. The little puppy was barking. Oop. Rookie mistake. Forgot to do the thing. So the thing in this case is this thing. Always make sure to put your platforms in place before jumping across them. Save yourself some time. As I said earlier, platforms in place. This will set up a hover area that you can use to ride that very cool laser in the middle of the platform there, all the way to the top. Boop. I don't know why they add things like that to the game. Okay, so now you can choose either to ride the cyclone up or to ride the laser up. I choose the cyclone because I know I need to ride the laser later. The laser will be important. It's best to open the alternative spaces first so that you have easier means of transport throughout the dungeon. So if you have an idea, ooh, destruct ray, nice. I wonder when I learned that. So it doesn't look much different from the basic ray, but it is much stronger. Okay, so this is one of the first... Oop. Sorry about that, a little bit of noise pollution in the background. We're back at it. Yes, the little things there are lightning rods. It very specifically attacks just that one and none of the others, and never will ever again. I'm being facetious. I'm pretty sure there's a statue whose mind you can read. That's why I did that. But now I'm not so sure. Ah, there's a dog barking in the background again. One day I'll learn how to cut that out. I mean, Discord knows how. Good Discord. So on the left there, that's just treasure. If you don't care about treasure, you can skip this. We're getting to slightly more obscure sections of the game where I don't remember everything that I find or found. So it looks like the game is programmed to treat any space that you can walk on as space that it can spawn enemies on. So by landing on that little platform in the middle, he treated that as a space for an encounter, and it rolled an encounter. So don't head down this cyclone. This cyclone sends you down to that angel statue I was trying to mind read earlier. It is very far behind, and it's actually more of a trap than anything else. If you want to head down quickly, then there are better ways to do it, but that is a reasonable way. So this is the next tower, the next arrow statue, and the next puzzle. This one requires a lot of running and a lot of hitting of those whirlwind goddess statues I mentioned earlier. You'll be riding those all day. Ooh, Jupiter Gin. Okay. So, if you place all of these pillars into their holes, slamming that pound stone there will knock them out of the holes. You have to rearrange them bit by bit, piece by piece. like this. Nope, don't do it. There you go. You have to line up, you have to extend the power sequence, ride the hover. Now what the game wants you to do is move this one, reset the space from earlier so that you can increase that little hover stone there, and then use that to reach the Jupiter Gin. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to try to reach it from here. Oh, I gave up. Coward. That's okay. What's easier is easier. See how they show you? Then they both pop out. So to get to the Jupiter Gin, you do this. Oh, that's right. You can use the Jupiter Gin's hover to get to the next section. Oh, pause. Yes, I just use stand instead of move. Like a genius. The reason you're using move is because you're not pushing it forward, you're pushing it to the side. You're linking up these two so that you can use this little hover pad here at the bottom to reach the Jupiter Gin. Now, she is going to fight you. So remember, don't use Jupiter Synergy on her, don't use Bind on her. Using Bind on a Jenny will cause it to flee. Using Jupiter Synergy on a Jupiter Gin will have a high resistance. So you cause it to sleep so that it can't fight back, because it knows a lot of high level synergy. If you're not careful, it can actually geek your entire party. That's what you don't want. See, if she'd used Destruct Ray or something similar, I most likely would have died there. Luckily, Jenna knows Healing Aura, which heals my entire party. Yay! Hooray for Jenna! Now, the other lady healer in the original team used something called Wish, which did something similar. Wish was quite nice, but Healing Aura is just as good. So now instead of using Pound, you use Hover on this one, and you just learn a little bit to the left here, a little bit to the left. There you go. And you make it to the top. This is another tricky puzzle, because you need to kind of use the one piece of the puzzle as a platform. This kind of makes sure that you can't do any shenanigans. You can't get to the other side without using this platform, but you need this platform to make things hover. When there's no way to no-clip through things because everything is within the fixed geometry, it amuses me. So if you want to get there, you have to set up these 4 pillars at the bottom and these pillars here at the top in such a way that they hover very specifically over the places you want them to go. So you set this one up there. You have to set up the last 2 here. Unfortunately, there's no way to use that similar path from earlier. You have to use all of these pillars to get to one direction or the other. So once you've set this up, you hop back over to the other side. Use your synergy to move this block back into place. It causes all the blocks to hover, then you hop across them. Hop. Hop. Just like that. Some Water of Life, very good. Always give the Water of Life to one of your fastest characters, but not the one who has Revive already. Revive counts as a water of life, so Felix should never be holding it. You want to make sure that it's either Sheba or Jenna who are holding it, or in a pinch, if Piers happens to be your Foster's character, you want him holding it. No one else learns Revive, so you don't want them wasting your inventory space. If they're the ones who die, then your other players don't have any way to bring them back in battle. You can swap, when you do have an additional 4 characters, you can actually swap out dead characters for live ones, so that you don't game over. And when all 4 of your main party members die, they automatically swap out with your backup party members. So you see, it's sitting in a pillar. You exit the cell, and it doesn't reset, which is weird that the other one did reset, even though it was doing the same thing. So this is the first part of another one of these trippy falling puzzles. You have to strategically ride whirlwinds around the area. Now, I failed. So you have to not get hit by her whirlwind. How do you do that? You go to the beginning, you go left instead of right, and you run down the bottom here. Pay close attention to the way the map is laid out. If you aren't careful, you won't be able to get where you need to be. You can't go through the one on the right there, because that'll get you in the path of her whirlwind again. Instead, you have to ride this whirlwind, in the same way that you had to avoid the first one. This is where it gets trippy. You use hover to rise above all of these platforms. As long as you're above a platform, you have infinite hover. Hover can only transport you maybe 3 squares. So you do that. This is where it gets bad. I'm going to do a lot of cuts here. If you aren't careful, that hits you so often. And this is it. Now, there's a little bit more of a obtuse puzzle on the other side that we'll be using to get a very nice light sword. It's called a photon saber. So not only is it a light sword, like a short sword, it's also a sword made of light, making it lighter. Which reminds me of one of my favorite RPG jokes. Why is leather armor good for sneaking? Because leather armor is made from hide. Cue applause. Alright, so this is the first one. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. No trouble. Here's the second one. And here's where the problem comes in. Instead of having more than one space to go over it, you have less than one space to go over it. Boop. Photon saber. Stronger than all our weapons. Who do you give it to? You give it to the weakest one. So you can use hover again, you get back to the beginning, or you can just hop down a hole. Hopping down a hole is normally faster. Pitiful. Oh, that's right. I can use this to escape a bit faster. Pretty sure this is where I get a bit confused, so I might do a big cut here. We'll see. I'm not super sure what to do, so I'm just riding it out for a bit. So I'm in a bit of a rush now. See, now I'm heading back out to the main tower. Yep, I'm now running aimlessly around. Silly me. So to be clever, I use this to skip straight down. I end up where I remember being. And I'm pretty sure I headed the wrong way. So now I'm back here. So I think I found the right way. Except not quite. I need to be there. Riding this will just take me to the other pillar. And I mustn't be at the other pillar. Watch. I need to be in the main tower. Why I went all this way without realizing it, I don't know. So as you can see, you and the whirlwind are the exact same speed. You don't need to worry about the whirlwind. You can outrun it. There we go. Alright, stuff's about to get real. Yes, he is my friend. Alright, this is where it's going to get a little bit slow on my side. There's a lot of talking, a lot of cutscening, and a lot of trying to save these idiots. That was an unfortunate snap. So it's unfortunate. She fell and so did he, but luckily she landed safely. Don't ask me how they fell. I'm assuming it's because of these two. See? Oh, her name's Karst. So, contrary to what I thought, he's not actually related to Saturos. They just look exactly the same. So that's actually a weird one. They're more like conquerors. Slightly villainous, slightly militant. The village of Prox is a small village. They've got huts and a little elder, and in any other game they'd basically just be the starting village where you meet the townsfolk and they help you out and stuff. But the way they're treating it, it's like they're some great empire, and they're not. It's implied that they're all firebenders, but I feel like that's a bit loose. Yes, so what they did was they waited for them to start crossing the bridge from earlier, then they stood on that platform, and then everyone fell through it. Except these two. They survived. Good job. Yes, that's right. Alex abandoned them. I was just asking, did anyone see where he went? As if anyone would help you except for the dude who you're helping, who you're using to kill them. Brilliant. Yep, here they go. Now they're having a fight. Cool. So regardless of how much health or synergy you have, Piers actually restores all of it for you when you get to the top. Light Surge. One of the stronger hulls in the game. Look at me being silly. Alright, so you have to head over here. You hop back across, you go down there, and then you go up the ladder. I don't immediately remember it here. I'm in a bit of a panic. Oh. Here we go. Not Piers has some stuff for us to do. So he's also a water adept, but he's not from Lemuria, as far as I know. I think he's from the same place as Mia, the other blue-haired water user. So now he heals your entire party and restores their synergy, something that no one else in the game can do, or at least very few other people in the game can do. And he kind of just glosses over it, like a weirdo. All my synergy is back. All my health is back. I don't need to waste time or energy doing any of those things. So I'm setting all my Jinn here, with the hope that the damage I can do with my summons will be enough to justify it. I shouldn't have set my Mars summons though. The problem with that is they're Mars adepts. They have resistance to fire. By setting it up that way, I actually put myself up for failure. That's pretty cool. Now they show us what it looked like when they were fighting. It looked bad. And they wasted all this energy. Now, although we want to fight them all at once, they now threaten to kill these two kids. I think I'm skipping past this a little bit quickly. Sorry about that. This is pretty sneaky of them. A horrible decision, really. So now, unfortunately, what we've given them is a chance to heal themselves. Maybe restore their synergy. I should have been the one to stay. So here's the problem. I forgot to make sure that my water of life was on the right people. So I've actually put myself in a very dangerous position. I also didn't make sure that I've got my mist potions on the right people. So I can't be sure if everyone who has the ability to heal has their healing abilities set up. Right. Here comes the terrible boss fight. And it vaporizes the statues and the cork. So after playing the first game, we've already lit 2 lighthouses. And this will be the third. See, they were bluffing this whole time. They have enough power to kill both of us and our friends. But they just needed to make sure that the lighthouse was lit first. It's time to fight. Oh. Well, for you, maybe. It's actually very kind of them. Although they just broke their word and are about to kill us for betraying them, I assume, they will still do their best to protect our parents if we die. So the fight's going to start. They're pretty tough. They have lots of very powerful synergy. Spam your spells, your summons now. Look at that. They're so much faster than us, and they still freaking took out 90% of our health. Alright, so that break thing just got rid of that synergy boost that our summons gave us. But thankfully that does give us an opportunity to heal ourselves again. Oh, that's good. Use Ramses if we're not going to do anything. Boreas. Use Boreas. No, you wasteful. So they have actually a lot of anti-player attacks. Their break gets rid of our boosts, their Gin Fest gets rid of our Ginny. So if you don't have them set to standby, then what they do is they put them on wait. We really don't have that many summons. Hit him with the Boreas. Stop wasting Gin. Totally worthless. Now we're dead. It's a good thing she showed up, otherwise I would have been killed next turn. They're much faster than I am. Oh yes, I don't think you've seen Eclipse yet. Just deals all the damage. What a jerk. Up, meet your blow again. Thankfully, I'm not completely stupid. So prioritize the highest attack summon you have. The combination summons are not always that good. Using Moloch back there was worthless. I should have used Boreas. Just dealt maximum damage when I had the chance. Try to make sure all your people are alive. If I'm not mistaken, you actually don't get experience if you're dead during a fight. And you don't want to waste experience from a boss fight like this. This was actually a really great comeback for me. Everything gelled quite well. Ah, she healed herself. So I'm pretty sure she's immune to bind. There we go. Turned her to dust with diamond dust. Ooh, the dark matter's nice. But it gives you a cursed weapon. Damn it, Alex. Let me kill them. When did he get you? He's been here the whole time. Up, he's restoring them full health like he did to us. At least now we know we can kill them. And unfortunately we did waste 2 waters of life doing that. Alright, so I've unfortunately sped up the words again. Sorry about that. See, I just picked up that I was doing it again. So I've slowed down. I'll get the hang of it. There's going to be a lot of talking for the next 15 minutes or so please bear with me on that one. With the lighthouse lit, we can leave. Remember, this was such a big deal to me the first time I completed this lighthouse. I hadn't played the first game yet, so I didn't know what the lighthouses were like. I didn't understand that the Mercury lighthouse had already been lit, or the Venus lighthouse had already been lit, and I wanted to see what they looked like inside. So you make sure that your alternative journey are set up so that you don't get messed over by the gin mixing. This crater, I have no idea what caused it. You can actually see it from this side. There it is. That's the crater there. but there's no way to get inside of it or see what's inside of it. Nothing. It's time to have another conversation. Imagine setting up your ancient temple in such a way that when you stuff up, it causes a giant cataclysmic storm around the mountain and drops a boulder. That right there is some tight synergy. Yeah, it's great. In the next game, you find out that after activating Alchemy again, Kraden becomes immortal, somehow, and technology advances leaps and bounds. You lose track of Sunny, so he can't make new weapons for you, but you get back into contact with that old lady from the pirate village, and she makes stuff for you. Yes. Savage, unnecessary. Now, how did she get here? Did she walk? Yeah, so it turns out there's a encroaching threat of an ice age. So that's a bit strange to me. I'm pretty sure it's the wise one, or the ancient one, that doesn't want the lighthouses lit. But I don't believe that, since he went through all the effort of making sure that we light the first two lighthouses. Except not really, because he turned people into dragons. Like a jerk. I am quite happy. It's nice to have a whole team together again. So I'm rushing through it now, but it's still going to take another 10 minutes. Yeah, I forgot to set my gen again. I don't even get to use any of the cool new gen I learned. So this is a good opportunity to trade out all your Jenny, so that everyone has the Jenny they're supposed to have. So I don't know why they added all these extra weapons. Possibly because they didn't think we'd have all the strongest ones. But this belongs to Barda. It's his gold ring. Huh. Oh, very rude of me not equipping their items. Oh, cool, my boat has wings. Okay, so watch out. Anything with the red glow around it is cursed. Like that, that's cursed. That's cursed blade. Mace. Demon axe, that's cursed too. Don't equip that. Ooh, the cleric's ring. That actually prevents curses. Defense goes down, attack goes up by quite a bit. That's quite nice. I can't remember how many ninja items there actually were in the first game. Yay, Hermes water. Totally worthless. So a lot of gold codes actually give you endless amounts of stat boosting items. Things like Lucky Pepper, Power Bread, and they overpower you quite heavily. I'm not too fond of that. It is a bit of a mess. So I will be doing my usual amount of grinding as soon as I've unlocked the Mars Lighthouse. There are phoenixes and things that you can kill there that each give you 5,000 experience. It's a good thing. Here we go. They literally just strapped wings to the side of it. I love it. Nice. I'll be using that to hopefully make an Excalibur for myself. Look at us go! Yeah, so it's important to know you never actually learn to fly higher. This is as high as you'll ever fly. At least I've never seen anyone fly higher than this. Shame. This is kind of blunt. It could still be important for her to learn who her people are. We never do, by the way. I don't think we ever do. So there's a lot of exploration for me to do, especially in this next area. So for now, I'm just going to use my amazing flying ability to fly me straight to none of these places. No, not quite. There. We're going to go to Naribwe. So while you're flying, enemies don't attack you. You travel a little faster than normal sailing, and you can't have any random encounters. It's actually a great benefit to flying around, because most sections in this area don't give you enough experience to make grinding worth it. Also, if you find an entrance like this to the land area, you can fly over it. Like that, see? And I'm going to dedicate another session a bit later to just general exploration. Maybe the next one. But for now, I'm going to do some sleeping. Make sure everyone has enough synergy to do that exploration I mentioned. Stand next to my magical flying ship. And perform a save. Very cool. So next time we're doing all that. Cheers.